engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Here we got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program.
Stay side of the moon, it gets very hot. A piece of metal out in the sun could raise to 250 degrees. But it would radiate away on the dark side at nighttime. See, there's 14 days of, you know that, don't you? 14 days of daylight on the moon and 14 Earth days of darkness.
July 4th, 1995. Part-time Ketchum resident and Apollo astronaut Buzz Aldrin serves as parade marshal at the Haley annual 4th of July parade. As a reporter, it was a dream assignment to talk to the second man on the moon about Apollo 11 and one of the greatest accomplishments of mankind.
Beautiful, beautiful. Isn't that something? Magnificent sight out here.
And I couldn't help putting together some words that seemed to be ironic words, sort of, or establish the contrast of desolation and the magnificence of being there. So the words of magnificent, desolate were very extemporaneous.
Magnificent desolation.
You have some of the most famous photographs in the history of mankind.
Well, Buzz Aldrin is a famous subject for photography. Neil was a pretty good photographer, and it just ended up that he had the camera a good bit of the time when we were taking historical pictures of people rather than documenting some of the things on the surface.
Who took the famous footprint photo?
I did.
I mean, that is...
And that was very spontaneous. I just was marveling so much at how precise the dust, like talcum powder, formed that footprint. And I felt that had to be recorded some way. And then it looked very lonesome, so I put my foot down and they covered up the footprint. So I had to move my foot away from the footprint on another picture to get a little bit of both.
Aldrin said that on the Apollo 11 mission, everything was a first.
But the things we were doing, making that powered descent and locking the landing radar on the ground of the moon, those were the first time. And it confused the computer because it got a little overloaded. And we had to walk our way through that, and it diverted our attention from looking at precisely where we were landing. So we came close to some rocks and things that Neil didn't like. He was directing the approach, so he skirted over them, and that consumed a little bit more fuel in the process. So we were pretty tight when we landed, maybe 15 seconds of fuel.
So you handled
No,
it.
I wasn't at the controls. That was very much a seniority assignment, and the second group of astronauts were not about to let us in the third group put our hands on the controls during that. No, that was in very capable hands. Neil was probably the most qualified test pilot in the whole astronaut program because of his experience with the X-15 and with NACA. He'd had a lot of error. He had to bail out of one of the lunar landing training vehicles.
See if you can pull that end off a little bit. Straighten that end up a little.
When you were out there walking around, did you look back? Could you see Earth from...
We had to lean back and look up because it was about 24 degrees away from straight up. And when you look up there in that black sky, because of the brilliance of the sun, there are no stars, and you see the Earth, it's 4 times bigger than the moon appears to us from here. But it's still, I tell you, it's very small looking. You see a little bit of blue, a good bit of the white clouds, and maybe a touch of brown. But you know that it's unique.
Now it's going to be a little difficult to find a good level spot here. Top of that next little ridge there, wouldn't that be a pretty good place?
Aldrin has spent the last 5 decades advocating space exploration and another audacious first, a mission to Mars.
Entertainment and fantasy is fine, but we have to live in a world of reality also. And I'm trying to excite people in thinking about what we really can be doing in the near future and maybe the medium and further in the future. And I think certainly a couple of 100 years, people from the Earth will be going to the stars. And somebody's going to be sitting back and watching. Somebody's going to go to Mars and begin to settle Mars, and somebody's going to be sitting back and watching. Somebody's going to return to the moon, and somebody's going to sit back and watch. I don't want America, especially on this Independence Day, to be thinking about sitting back and watching. I think we should be leaders in the world in doing these things toward the future.
It's been 50 years since man first walked on the moon. Americans now wait for the next big step.